I don't think that there's more important conversation happening today in hospitality than the one between your industry and mine. If a guest runs every morning, they expect the hotel to give them safe routes and knowledge of places that they could go running, right? If they train on connected equipment at home, they want really good gym equipment in the hotel. We're not the experts in it, you guys are. And so we try to do these kind of partnerships to help our industry understand what the guests want on that side.
The HFA Pod is sponsored exclusively by Hapana.
Hello, I'm Greta Wagner, Interim President and CEO of the Health and Fitness Association, and I'm excited to welcome you back to this month's episode of HFA Pod. Joining me today is Barak Hirschowitz, President of the International Luxury Hotel Association. Barak's career in luxury hospitality began on the opening management team of Bushman's Kloof in South Africa, which went on to earn the Relays and Chateau membership and later was named Best Hotel in the World. For the past decade, he's led the International Luxury Hotel Association, building one of the world's largest hospitality, travel, and wellness communities. Today, we'll explore how wellness is reshaping travel and what today's guests expect, and what this evolution means for the future of hospitality and the fitness industry. Barak, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Greta. It's great to be here with you today. And I'll say this up front, I don't think that there's more important conversation happening today in hospitality than the one between your industry and mine.
I agree. So, Barak, you've spent your career helping luxury hotels solve problems and identify opportunities, including founding the International Luxury Hotel Association and building solutions around recruitment, talent, and industry collaboration. Looking back over that journey, what are some of the biggest shifts that you've witnessed in what defines a successful hospitality experience?
Well, I've been lucky enough to have been in this industry from just about every side of it and seen, every part of it. I started when I was very young. I started in New York kitchens at 16. I went through Johnson & Wales, and then I took probably one of the least direct route possible. So I moved to South Africa. And I worked my way up, as you mentioned, through leadership with companies like Halcyon Hotels and Bushman's Kloof and places like this. So, but my education in the industry really started at the bottom, really working with guests and ensuring that they have amazing experiences day after day. So, and then as you mentioned later, I moved into the people side of the business when I helped co-found Hospitalio, which is a global search firm which specializes in luxury hospitality a number of years ago. And so along the way, I noticed as the industry, the luxury hotel industry was changing a lot, that the luxury segment and the people that were building and running the world's best hotels, they had no dedicated forum. And that's why we founded the International Luxury Hotel Association. Today, we're the industry's leading think tank, and we have quite a big following on B2B network like LinkedIn, where we have over 1 million professionals that belong to our LinkedIn groups in those spaces. So when you asked about the biggest shifts, I'd say there's three in my experience. The first is that luxury used to be a formula. It was formal, it was exclusive, it was very heavy on ceremony. You literally couldn't walk into a luxury hotel unless you were staying there or visiting somebody who was staying there. So they were incredibly private. Today, luxury is personal. You can ask 10 guests to define what luxury is. You'll get 10 different answers. Some want to drink wine, fine wines in a wine cellar. Others want to live under the stars, glamp under the stars. It's really different for different people. So there's no really single definition anymore. And really, the great hotels have stopped pretending that there is. The second thing is that, and this is a big one, it's time, right? So what they do have in common, all of those guests, is that they today feel like they're very time limited. They don't have enough time. It's really like time is the scarce luxury of today, right? We're doing a lot. We're multitasking, and so it's not champagne or marble that's the luxury. It's the time. And so our job description as hoteliers has changed. Luxury is no longer what you give a guest; it's what you don't take away from them, right? And so I guess every minute that a guest spends standing in line or repeating information or waiting for feedback on something, that's time that we've stolen from the reason that they traveled in the first place. And we call that in our industry friction, right? And so removing friction has become the whole game in luxury hospitality today. And then the third is really that the comparison set changed. Guests aren't really comparing today your hotel against a competitor's hotel or the hotel across the street. What they're comparing is their home, really. They've invested seriously in their homes. They're from their bedroom to their kitchen to their sleep, obviously their wellness that they do at home. And so we're no longer competing with that. We're competing literally with the guests' own homes. And I think that one shift really explains almost everything that's going on the wellness side in the hotel industry, and which is why I suspect, which is where I suspect we're headed.
I think that, yeah, there's a lot of synergy between our two industries. And, as operators in the wellness and fitness industry, removing friction and creating that sort of unique and individualized experience is something that we're always trying to aspire to. And the best operators do. So, and I think a lot of people can relate to your sort of journey through your career, because a lot of the best operators have grown up within our industry as well and have seen it all and have done it all. So thank you for that. When did wellness first move from being something hotels offered to being something guests genuinely expected?
Um, I'd say that it probably goes back to the change in how people travel, right? So today guests take more trips, they take shorter trips, they blend business and leisure together. We even have a term for it called bleisure. Um, so the hotel kind of stopped being a special occasion and luxury and became almost like a second home, as I mentioned, for them. They're traveling a lot, and I count myself in that. So, you really experience it. And I think at the moment that that happened, something important followed. And that is whatever routine that they have at home that travels with you, right? So wellness became part of a daily life first. And then it started showing up in our hotels. And so, to be honest, Greta, we kind of seen this before in our industry with food. So, for instance, I think the health and wellness for hotels really started first showing up as in the restaurants and in the food and beverage offerings. So what happened is people started eating healthier, and when they started eating healthier, and then they traveled, they would show up at our hotel. Their flight's late. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. They're staying at a high-end hotel, and what's on the menu at 3 o'clock in the morning? Back a few not that long ago, on every five-star hotel menu, club sandwich, burger, stuff that they wouldn't eat at home. Right? It's middle of the night, so we were not providing them the same experience as if they'd arrived home late from the airport. They'd probably grab a salad or something and eat healthy. So we started changing our menus in the hotels to provide more around the clock and better healthy food options. And so that healthy eating movement that took off from home and then came into the hotels, that's basically not really a failure of our cooking. It's a failure of understanding what the guest wants today, right? And so we rebuilt our entire food and beverage, as I mentioned, around that. And that's basically where we're now reaching with this movement with sleep and recovery and longevity and all of that. So if a guest runs every morning, they expect the hotel to give them safe routes and knowledge of places that they could go running, right? If they train on connected equipment at home, they want really good gym equipment in the hotel. If they take a class during the week and now that time that they would normally be in class is being done, while they're traveling, they need the hotel to help them get a class. And that's not a spa request. That's really like just continuing their life. And the numbers, they say it's not, this is big. It's huge, it's growing, and the hotels that adapt to this um, are the ones that, are getting the business.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think that, yeah, it's more of lifestyle. It blends business travel, social travel, when people are going on vacation or regardless of the reason why they're in your hotel, they want to have that continuation of their healthy lifestyle. So, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, people expect movement, recovery, better sleep, healthier food, an outdoor experience. I know when I travel, I always want to have some sort of activity that's outside as well as a really fabulous gym and fitness center. So, even opportunities to maintain the routines that they've built at home, as you said, from your perspective, what has driven that evolution? Is it just demand from your client base, or, is there something else that's forcing this evolution?
Yeah, like I said, I think our goal in the hotel industry is to not, and we used, as I mentioned earlier, the same thing with the food and beverage. Our goal is not really to let them, leave worse off than they got there. I mean, a true luxury hotel should improve somebody, right? So they should come to the hotel and feel better than when they arrived. But as we did with food, we were getting in a situation where they were leaving feeling worse. And I think that's the same thing. They have a heavy program of wellness in their life now and fitness in their life now. And as hotels, at bare minimum, we need to at least make sure that they can easily maintain that when they come and stay with us. Our trip is not making them worse off by staying in our property. And then we are also kind of showrooms. People learn a lot about they discover products in hotels and things like this. So, I think that people love to go into a hotel and you know, try out a great mat. And I don't know, I bought my mattress by staying in a hotel and said, this is the mattress I want. I slept so well on it, right? So these are also, I think, as people are getting excited about wellness and getting more and more into this, the hotels have the opportunity to also become not just, okay, we can do what you at home, but actually take it to the next step and introduce them to stuff that they haven't experienced before. So that's a lot of what we do as well on our association, is partner with people like you and organizations like yours to, we're not the experts in it, you guys are. And so we try to do these kind of partnerships to help our industry understand what the guests want on that side.
It's funny. I just purchased my sheets from a hotel stay too. So, when it's good, it's good. So, are there examples where you've seen wellness become part of the identity of a hotel rather than a department? Could you talk a little bit, or maybe even give us examples of some of the hotels that are doing it extremely well?
Yeah, I will. I mean, obviously, it's interesting. We're in a real estate. We The hospitality industry is a very strange industry because we're actually three industries in one, and they often have conflicting goals, right? So, if there's anything to take away from it, is we're first and foremost a real estate industry. So the people who invest, build design hotels, they're a real estate, and their goal is very much aligned with the real estate industry. It also means that we can be quite inflexible at times because there's a huge capital involvement in building a hotel, especially a luxury hotel, right? So when the guests are quite, when they change very quickly, and I'd like to say, like, as well, just, separately, what kind of made this, like, what's driving this, right? As you said, I think that the internet has made it made travel public, and now it's making wellness public, right? So when people used to travel pre-internet, they had slides. The neighbor knew about it and their friends knew about their trip, and that's it, right? And then the internet, basically everyone puts everything about their trips online, which is great. It spreads, and everyone wants this, and we're seeing that same effect in wellness now. Everyone sharing what they're doing in those spaces and learning. So that's definitely the drive. I would say the biggest drive behind it. Um, But at the same time, there are some leaders in the space that are doing it. As I mentioned, we're a real estate industry, but we're also the hospitality industry, which is the people who run hotels, and we're the travel industry that fills hotels, right? And so they always have these kind of different things going. And I think the most innovative hotels out there or newer hotels that are coming on are kind of setting examples of what can be done in this space. And some great examples. If we look at really, really cutting edge, there's like Equinox hotels have built an entire hotel in Hudson Yards, which is probably one of the highest room rates of any hotel in New York. And it's a full wellness experience from top to bottom. That's the purpose of the hotel. You stay there and you feel amazing, right? We're seeing luxury, traditional luxury spas, cliniques from Switzerland, partnering with hotels in Dubai and Saudi Arabia and China and all of these places to deliver like longevity experiences and things like that. The Four Seasons, for instance, this is going back a few years, but the Four Seasons in Westlake Village, for instance, has a full hospital inside of it, and it has a cooking kitchen that the guests can learn how to cook. It's a public, like a cooking class kitchen to learn how to cook healthy, which I've had the opportunity to experience, which was great. So these are kind of cutting edge examples. There's also a lot of partnerships. There's a lot of partnerships as well with brands in your space, in the fitness and health space. We've partnered with Purpose brands and some of their products that are, again, we're a real estate business and they have fitness, gyms and they are, there's opportunities for their franchisees to open open these gyms in the hotels, which bring in locals, which is what we want, and also give the guest a full experience. But at the same time, for gyms that are, partnering, I mean, for hotels that are looking to offer better and better gym experiences, we have other partners like Technogym and Matrix who provide top of the range equipment, but also expertise to our industry and help our hotels understand what they should be doing in gyms like that. I'll also go back to like Equinox. They have their own hotel. I mean, they have their own hotel, but they also partner with, for instance, the Four Seasons in Miami, where they have a full gym that is very popular with the locals in Brickell. But the guests get to use it too. They've done the same thing at the Mandarin Oriental in Columbus Circle in New York. So if you're a guest at the Mandarin Oriental, you just go down the elevator and you use the Equinox gym. So, and you get to have the full classes and all of that. So we're seeing some great examples of this happening on the fitness side. We're seeing it on the longevity side, and then there's other brands. Another example, maybe not at the top luxury tier, but there's Even Hotels, which is a brand that IHG, Intercontinental Hotels, came out with, which is a kind of a mid-tier business brand, but it's specifically for health and wellness. Every room's got, a ball in it and yoga mats, and they have, water dispensers throughout the property and things like that. So yeah, I think we're at the beginning of a big wave of more and more of this.
Yeah, I think absolutely a cusp of something big is happening. I want to backtrack a little bit because I think that there is a lot of alignment with, in our industry, there's a lot of talk about moments of truth and making sure that when any encounter you have with a member, you're exceeding their expectations, but more importantly, you're making them sort of leave better than when they came in, right? Because people remember how you make them feel, and we can't guarantee results in a very short period of time. But I have always said we can guarantee that when you walk in, if you're feeling a little run down or you're feeling like you just need to stretch or enjoy an hour, you're going to walk out feeling much better. And I think that when people come to these luxury resort hotels and more experiential resorts that you walk away, whether it's a 2-day experience or a week experience, or some of them are month-long experiences. I know I stay at a resort called the Ranch at Malibu, and I do that annually. And it incorporates the whole halo effect at a high level, from nutrition to movement to outdoors, and that really personalized touch. And I think, do you think that more people are not just the average stay, or I'm coming in and I'm checking into your hotel, kind of like the Equinox, but maybe even beyond that? Are more people looking to not just partner with different fitness organizations, but really build out a full program for longevity and extended stays? Are you seeing any of that?
Yeah, no, we definitely are. I mean, there's, La Conique Prairie, forgive my pronunciation, from Switzerland, is now partnering with, I think, 4 or 5 hotels to do full build outs, of longevity focused hotels. So you're definitely seeing more of that. I think I'd like to take it back a little bit. I think that wellness is also mental, and as you mentioned, outdoors brings it all kind of an automatic, right? So I still think that the old school, like when I say old school, the original safari lodges between 1998 and 2008. I was very lucky to be there at that time. Between Condé Nast and Travel and Leisure, of those 10 years, 5 of them were won. Best hotel in the world was won by a luxury safari lodge, and one of them, Sagita, won twice. And so um, their experience, I was there recently at one of the properties in May, and I had forgotten how it's still, I think, probably the best wellness experience anyone can have, because you're 100% focused in nature. Um, it's really, if you've never done it, they're not inexpensive. They're definitely luxury, but they're unbelievable, and it will reset your head completely to spend a week outside in the wilderness like that, but in under true luxury. Um, but I also think that we're starting to see that in the design of the hotels, even the city hotels, right? One hotel really, when W Hotels came onto the scene a number of years ago and created, let's call it the party hotel, right? They call it the lifestyle, but let's call it the party hotel. That was the lifestyle hotel back then, right? Then One Hotels came along and they introduced this kind of organic, healthy, very wellness focused, mental and physical wellness focused hotels, where it wasn't just a spa, it's the entire hotel is organic and live greenery. You feel like you're in even if it's in a city, you feel like you're immersed in nature, right? And now with the new W rebrand, they've rebranded the entire of W, and they're rolling out that new look and feel. It's definitely focused on that one style, which you see in the newer brands like Edition as well, right? It's all organic and it's bringing nature in. So I think that that mental wellness. The other thing that's really important for us is to never forget that we're a people business, right? In our industry, we're a hospitality business. And I think you have the food and the exercise and the longevity and all of these things, but there's also just that the fact that we're connecting with other people, and the service, really, really good service, is really a personal connection with people at the property. And our organization, we give a course actually at our event, which is coming, our annual US event is coming up in December in Orlando. And at that conference, we spend some time talking to you about people in our industry and outside of the industry about how important it is for us as hoteliers to make that personal connection. If somebody stays at a luxury property and they leave and they don't know anybody there, or they didn't feel like anyone knows who they are, that's not a very wellness type experience, right? It creates it's not true luxury. And so I think that part of all this as well is people just they want to have that personal relationship, and us hoteliers, we are trained to take problems away from people. So if we see somebody walks into a hotel and they look stressed from their travel, it's our job to go up and kind of we call it taking the rock, like they're carrying this rock when they walk in, and we take that rock, and that rock is their problem, and we are supposed to sort it out for them so they don't have to worry about it and come back to them with solutions. And I think that's all part of the the kind of the mental wellness side of it as well, that we do great properties, give great service, which I think adds also to that sort of relaxation that goes with it.
Yeah, I think if you can build the most beautiful sites, but if you don't have the right people who care, it won't matter. I want to backtrack just 1 second because I think that this really relates to some of our operational pains within our industry. You mentioned influencers, and it's a mixed blessing, really. Everybody is recording every aspect of their life, and especially when they're traveling. I've experienced it where it can sometimes take away from the overall experience. Is this a hot topic within your industry? Have you heard of how people handle this influx of influencers, and you want the branding and you want the experience to be shared, but at the same time, it can kind of distract from the in the moment experience. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where yes, you create something. This is maybe not wellness, but let me I mentioned we're the real estate. Like one of the things our organization does is it tries to bring. We have people leaders that operate in the real estate, the hospitality, and the travel, but not always together. So, but I think sometimes the best things in the industry happen when those three things come together, and that's what we do is bring those kind of those people together. And so in Kozumui, at the W, I'm using W again, but this is a really great example of this. And we're going to go back, right? We're talking about influencers. So Instagram was just starting. And when they built that hotel, it was one of the first times that the real estate and let's call it the architects, the design team of the brand, and the travel side, so the marketing team of the brand and the operation team got together before they even designed the hotel. And one of the things is the marketing team told the design team, there's this new thing called Instagram, and we should really try to capitalize on it by building a space where people can take pictures that will be wow, because people will share these pictures. I mean, it's hard to believe that that's like something that you had to think about, but this was really innovative at the time. This is years ago. I had the opportunity to visit there and meet with the general manager, and I heard the story. And so what happened was they built the iconic. If you've never seen it, it's a glass W. It looks like a pool, but it's actually kind of like a pond, infinity pond with couches in it that's kind of a bar. And so that W, you have the blue water, and then you have this glass W, and then you have the like blue of the lagoon. And it became the number one most Instagram spot in the world when the hotel opened, to the point that they had buses and buses of tourists coming just to take a picture next to that W. Well, there's an example of doing it so well that it kind of went crazy with, maybe not even influencers, but just everyone coming in. And what they ended up having to do was to charge like a $50 fee for people that weren't staying at the hotel. They could then spend that at the restaurants and that, but they could use that. So I think we always have to be careful when we leverage some of these online stuff to, especially when we're dealing with wellness and relaxation, to kind of see where this goes. I think that was a good problem for them to have, and I'm sure they would do it over again 20 times over. But as you say, it's definitely something where you have to be careful for it. I think you have in the fitness industry probably a little bit more of a impact of influencers. Travel obviously has it, but I think with wellness and health, you're dealing with people's physical health, and I think there's a lot more of that going on than we have on the travel side.
Yeah. So talking about who your industry hires, are you seeing new roles with different skill sets that are required, or entirely new career paths that are emerging because wellness has become such an important part of the guest experience? How is hiring and recruiting and training been affected by this influx of wellness travel?
Yeah, it's definitely changing. This is the part I love actually, because we are a people business and I love to see how it changes. I think that, as I mentioned, I helped co-found many years ago a firm that recruits for a lot of the luxury properties around the world and cruise lines and things like that. So I've got to see the job descriptions change firsthand, and just also how we hire. The the first principle is really, it's an old one, and that is, I actually learned it was interesting. It came from the HR at Kimpton when Kimpton, before they were acquired by HG, they were really kind of an unusual brand, right? From if you think about the people that worked there, it was very different. They were uncorporate, and so we had one of the things that their sort of regional HR for New York told me at the time was they hire people who would be their customers, right? This was actually came up around the social networking, which is I think is quite relevant to what you just said in the previous question. At the time, we had 9 general managers from hotels. We were doing a round table of 10 general managers in New York, and they were all from luxury hotels. I won't mention which ones. And Kimpton didn't send a general manager. They sent their head of HR. And they said, you should speak to our HR, not our GM. Their HR is the most important person in our hotels. Okay, great. That's cool. And the question was, and again, this is going back a number of years, but the question was, is it okay for your staff, your team to post on social media, pictures of guests and things like that at the time? And they were all like, no, they can't use social media at work. This would never be happening. She said, we encourage it. And they were shocked, how could you encourage this? And she said, well, the thing is that what better marketing can you have that they become friends on social media with our guests, right? So they wouldn't do it without their permission, but if they want to share and contact each other and stuff like that, and they were like blown away. And so one of the general managers said, but how do you know they're going to do the right thing on social media? And she said, well, then that's your problem. If you don't know how to hire the right people, we hire the kind of people who would stay in our hotel. And I thought that was always a great thing. So, you want to hire people that are your business. They're the kind of people, if you're hiring for any organization, you should hire the people that would use your organization. Those are your people, right? So that's the first thing is who are your people and try to hire those people. But title, as you mentioned.
That is so spot on. We do that a lot, I think, in our industry, because even the members love our culture so much that they want to work for us, right? And who better to serve than somebody who's experienced it and has completely bought in. So I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're completely correct there. So, and I think so, how does that go out to wellness? Well, that means that like the runner at the front desk, needs to be able to give you a running route because she just ran it this morning, right? Or an F&B director that eats healthy, right? So if you're in wellness, these are the kind of things that I think, guests can tell if it's real or if it's laminated, right? So I think that the best wellness amenity in a hotel is an employee that actually lives it. So if your hotel is focusing on wellness or whoever's going to be working that, they can't just be your role. But we're certainly seeing those job descriptions as well, right? We're getting director of well-being, sleep concierge, recovery specialist, longevity program director. These are kind of new roles, right? But also, we have a partner that we worked with for years, that we've been working with for years in the mattress. We were talking about mattresses. But the funny thing is, we're actually in the business of sleep, right? We're a hotel. But very little of us knew anything about sleep. So we brought in sleep scientists from CERTA to work with us on what makes a room great for sleeping? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing right? And those sessions at our events have actually been some of the most well attended. and some of the information we put out, because in a way, it's unbelievable how little we knew about that. So again, going back to the people, I think, if they need to, they need to love wellness and in order, and they need to live wellness in order for them to deliver it.
So let's talk a little bit about where investment is flowing. It seems the conversation has shifted from simply adding a spa to designing entire guest experiences around wellness, from recovery and fitness to longevity programming and wellness-focused residences. Where are you seeing owners and investors place their attention and resources today? And what does that tell you about how they view wellness as a driver to long-term value?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let's talk about the owner's mindset for a second. I think that explains everything. I sort of alluded to it earlier. Real estate's a very heavy, slow investment, right? You build a hotel and you don't want to touch it for a very long time. Um, but as I said earlier, that the consumer moves fast now, and what the consumer wants, the consumer gets. I mean, there was a time when we were arguing in the hotel industry over should we charge for Wi-Fi still? It's like something you just can't do anymore, right? The guest wants it, you have to give it to them
I'd
or
say
they go
no.
somewhere else. There was a early day discussion about should there be Wi-Fi in hotels at all. So that shows you how long we've been doing this. Um, so so again, they don't argue with you. They just go somewhere else, right? And so the owners have learned to kind of play. We're actually doing a lot in our design of the hotels today. I want you to notice something. Here's something really, a little insider trick. If you go into any sort of newer hotel built in the last maybe 8 to 10 years, look at the room, the furniture that's in the room. I'm talking about branded properties of any kind. You'll notice that the headboard, the desk, the TV, they're usually, even in higher end hotels, they're all kind of connected together and they're not attached to the wall. There's not a lot of freestanding furniture. That's because we now know, we plan that every 10 years we have to take it out and put new stuff in, right? So we have these sets that go in now, whereas it used to be freestanding furniture and you didn't have to touch it for 25, 30, 40 years. Now, every 10 years that stuff's going out. So, something that's the challenge that we have, right? So where do they put their money? Where are they seeing the biggest bets landing? And that is really whole property wellness as a brand identity. One Hotels, as I mentioned, they set that, right? There's a reason that their hotels are getting the most money in their markets, in very competitive markets like Miami and LA. In New York, we talked about Equinox. They have one of the highest room rates in New York City, if not the highest. So, and they're full. I mean, it's smaller property, but it's full. You and I were chatting earlier about Amman and these. So the fact is that the if you do it, you build it properly and you do it right, wellness, longevity, the guests will pay a premium for it, and you will be the one selected over the ones that don't have it, right? So that's like whole property is a wellness. I think you're going to see a lot more big investment in that space. And any brands that are doing redesigns or remodels, you're going to see a lot of focus around that. I'd say the second thing is sleep and recovery is a hard product. So again, as I mentioned, the Equinox story with, guests will pay a lot for that, right? So sleep tourism or wellness tourism, longevity tourism, it's a 70 plus billion-dollar category growing in double digits. So if guests pay a premium just to close their eyes, that's not amenity anymore. If they want to feel better, then they're willing to go somewhere, the people that are at the forefront of that they're going to make the money. So that's where we're at. Okay, so the third thing is like the frontier of the space, right? So that's like longevity for sure. Medical grade wellness, the diagnostics, the biomarkers, physician-led programming. I mentioned earlier, like the Four Seasons at Westlake Village that has all of that kind of stuff in it, right? And then I also mentioned there's some well-known clinics in Switzerland and so what we're seeing is partnerships because that now starts getting very technical, right? And what, we're the hospitality industry. We just figured out you didn't want to, grilled cheese at 3 a.m. when you came in off your flight, right? So we were looking to partners with that. So it was a big opportunity for the leaders that have kind of set longevity in that space to come into us and think of us as like we're the real estate part of that, right? So we're gonna host your guests and give them all the stuff that goes with that. You're seeing also some partnerships between hospitals. So there's been a lot of investments in hospitals, like hotels being built near top hospitals because guests are going to be staying there and those kind of things. So that's really like all frontier edge stuff that's happening now. That on the longevity side of it. Um, and
So
all,
this
yep.
is, yeah, so this is where obviously our industries really converge. Um, so we, in the fitness industry, we've got decades of expertise in movement, behavior, change, coaching, and really building communities, because our members come back to us multiple times a week, year in, year out. Where do you see the greatest opportunities? I mean, clearly for some of the leaders in our industry and the bigger players within our industry, collaboration is a natural fit, and they're in urban areas where some of the higher end resorts and hotels live. But are there any other opportunities where more fitness operators could collaborate with hospitality in their general areas, and really
Yes,
bring that
absolutely.
fitness
In
expertise
fact,
in?
in fact, it's interesting. It's actually interesting. As much as it is big brands and expertise on big scales, the consumer, the traveler, travels for to discover, right? They want local. So that's the other thing they've told us. So we have to be careful to become too branded as well. The big brands are definitely, so there you'll see partnerships with big brands, as you mentioned, but I'll give you an example. So, Proper Hotels in LA, if you've ever stayed with them, they're really kind of an innovator in creating a local experience, bringing in local coffee shops, bringing in local, spa into their property. Local, LA, right? We only work with LA based products, even in our neighborhood, right? These are our local. This is the coffee shop that the people that live in our neighborhood go to. So we brought it into our hotel. We want the locals to come into our hotel for coffee, right? So I think that there's an opportunity to partner with, firstly, local fit. A guest travels to a property, they can discover local things that they can't at home. And so if you have an amazing gym that's not part of a brand, or you have wellness products or a wellness experience that's only local that you can only do in that area, absolutely you'll see the properties wanting to tap into those things too. So there's an opportunity on both ends. I think that the guest wants a high quality experience. They want to feel better, they want to travel for that, but they also want a local experience as well. And so if somebody's taking a class, or that they want to take a class, who better than local instructors, right? You have any they and a lot of the places that people travel, they also know that those places are known for, having the most cutting edge gyms or the wellness facilities or some stuff that they don't have at other places. So partner, if there's something that only happens in, there's a wellness experience, for instance, or a fitness class, the celebrity instructor or something that only takes place in this part of Santa Monica and your hotel is there, then partner with them and bring them in, and not only will that bring in locals, but it'll also showcase that and let some of your guests experience it too. So, and we've seen that with everything as well, like the same thing with food, and it's local is as important as, as established brands.
Yeah. Local and people that care. It's funny. I'm curious if you know, because I was just introduced to you would, and it would not be considered luxury at all, but it's probably the number one booked hotel in LA and with the best reviews, called the Magic Castle Hotel. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I know the Magic Castle. I
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize it was a hotel, but I know the Magic Castle.
Yeah, it's a hotel, and I would suggest everybody look this up because they charge luxury rates, and when you look at their website, it's not a luxury hotel, but what they do is they accommodate, and their hospitality and their personalization to their guest is beyond anything that I've ever experienced. So it would not
Yeah, and you
probably
brought
hit
up a
your
great
list of
point.
luxury, but it definitely would hit the list of some of the, best hospitality and service ever.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that I think that you brought up a great point, and that is you can't define luxury today, as I mentioned earlier. And I think a really good example where service kicks in, right? So to me today, if somebody, let's say they're staying at an economy hotel or on business, they get from the airport and they check in on an app and they go straight to their room and it's clean and they put their stuff down and they go to sleep, right? That's a more luxurious experience than arriving in Las Vegas at one of the giant five-star casinos and standing in a line because you don't have a VIP check-in for 45 minutes waiting for your room, right? That is a less luxury experience, right? And so I think that just because the one costs $600 a night and the other one costs $100 or $50 a night doesn't mean that the one is giving you a more luxury experience than the other. And I think that that's the key is like great service can take a regardless of price point can make something luxurious, and poor service can take something that's at a very high price point and make it not luxury.
Well, on those magic words, we'll end our session today. Barak, thank you so much. You've given us a lot to think about, and I appreciate all of the insight and knowledge that you've shared with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Greta. It's my pleasure, and I'm so excited that our two industries are connecting because I think the future of luxury travel is really simple to say, but it's hard to do. And I think every guest really should, go home better than they arrived. And you guys are doing a great job of helping us do that. So thanks.
Agreed. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The HFA Pod is sponsored exclusively by Hapana.